Hey everybody, this is a little explanatory video for essay number 1. I'm going to talk about the prompt, we're going to take a look at the grading rubric, and I'm going to talk about some of the general things you need to do to have success with this paper. Alright, so first things first, let's take a look at the prompt. Based on what you've learned about the Puritans and the Enlightenment, answer the following prompt. How would the Puritans have judged the values, beliefs, and life of Benjamin Franklin? Okay, you've learned a lot about the Puritans. You've listened to a lot of lectures. You've read a book about the Puritans. You've learned a lot about Benjamin Franklin and the Enlightenment. You've listened to a lot of lectures, and you are reading Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. Essay number 1 asks you to put those things together. Okay, I try to elaborate on my expectations for this, where I say, one way to think of this prompt is to imagine a Puritan in Denham around the time of the town's founding, magically finding a copy of Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. What would this person have thought about Benjamin Franklin? So this essay asks you to demonstrate your mastery of understanding Puritan values, their beliefs, the nature of their society. And imagine a person that believed those things and lived that life came across and read about Benjamin Franklin's life. What would they think? What would they like? What would they dislike? What would they agree with Franklin about? What might they be horrified about Benjamin Franklin's life? And the expectation is that you are using what you learned in class to help you write this essay. Okay, this is not a research paper. I do not expect you to be doing outside research. You only need to use lecture material and what you've read in the class. Now, I've also posted some videos in some of your weekly modules. Just class material. Okay, that's what I'm asking you to do. Now, in terms of the essay itself, I say make sure you watch video essay 1 in the week 7 module as a starting point for this essay. It's exactly what you're doing right now, so good for you. Your response will be a 3 to 5 page paper, somewhere between 750 words and 1250 words. It should be 12-point font, double spaced with 1-inch margins. If you do that, then 3 pages should be around 750 words, 5 pages around 1250 words. Can it be a little shorter? Can it be a little longer? Yes. There are things to worry about with both of those, however. You know, anything less than 3 pages, you're really flirting with not dealing with enough material to do a good job. Okay? But if you're slightly short of 3 pages, will I read your paper and grade? Yeah, sure, of course I will. That's no problem. I just recommend. I don't really think you can do a great job with this assignment in under 3 pages. Okay, maybe, however, you're a really efficient writer. Maybe you get to the point really quick, and so can it be a little less? Yeah, sure. Can it be longer than 5 pages? Yes, but I remember I had an undergraduate professor, and she explained it like this. If you go over the maximum for the class paper, it better be good. Because I'm spending extra time reading something. And if it's bad, I'm going to be more critical. Because you should have edited this out. Okay? I kind of buy into that philosophy. Can it be more than 5 pages? Sure it can. And if it's good, no problem. No problem whatsoever. I'll keep reading and I'll enjoy it and I'll keep giving you points. Absolutely. But if I'm reading page 7 and this is not good, I'm going to be overly critical of that because you should have edited this down. Instead of you spending the time and the work of editing this paper down to make it good, you're wasting my time by making me read extra stuff. Okay, so I recommend trying to stick to the 3 to 5 page. Anything under 3 pages might not be enough to get a good grade. If you're really confident and you know your stuff is good and you're going to go over 5 pages, no problem. No problem whatsoever. Just, like be confident and make sure it's good and well edited with that. Due date, March 19th before midnight, okay? Like all of our other assignments, that is a Friday, right? So due before Friday, March 19th. You're going to submit it in the week 8 module. There's going to be a link for a Turnitin upload there. Upload your paper in either Word or PDF. One of those two formats. This is to guarantee there are no problems, okay? I'm not going to be checking at midnight Friday night, or it would be Saturday morning, to make sure everybody's paper is uploaded. I'm going to have over 250 of these papers from all of my classes due that same day. So I'm not going to be checking that. To make sure there's no problem with upload, I want to simplify this. Either use a Word document or PDF, because there just tends to not be problems with that. But please make sure that your paper is uploaded. Just double check. After it's done, make sure it's there. Okay? Because I might not get to even taking a look at your paper for another week after, because I've got so many classes turning in papers. So you don't want to have a late paper because your paper failed to upload and you didn't double check with that. So please turn your paper in through a Word or PDF. You can process it, word process it in any program you want. Just make sure you convert it to a Word product or a PDF before you turn it in. Okay. I will accept late papers for this. However, you will be downgraded 1 letter grade for every week that it is late. That's only fair to everybody else who didn't get extra time to work on their paper. So, and we need deadlines in life, okay? If I don't have a deadline for students, they'll never turn paper, they'll never turn work in. So we need a deadline. Please try to turn your paper in at least a little bit early, just in case there's some sort of problem or you have connectivity issues. Don't be that student trying to turn this paper in Friday at 11:58, because if something goes wrong, you're going to lose points on it for that, okay? So turn it in early enough so if there is a problem, if there is some sort of glitch, you can take care of it with that, okay? So you can turn it in late, but I don't recommend it, okay? Let's take a look at the rubric. I have this grading rubric for you here. It breaks down my expectations for every letter grade. I have 4 categories, criteria for that I'm going to be judging your paper based on. You see them in the left column over here. So organization, that will make up 15% of your grade. Style and clarity will make up another 15% of your grade. Mastery of course material, the largest category, that'll make up 50% of your grade. And then analysis will make up 20% of your grade. And you see my expectations for each of those categories for each letter grade, A, B, C, and D. Hopefully there are no F's, so I don't even bother putting that in here. So just let's take a look at my expectations in terms of organization for an A paper. Essay contains an introduction, main body, and conclusion. Introduction conveys the main argument and offers a preview of what the reader can expect in the essay. The conclusion brings everything together and neatly summarizes the paper's central ideas. That's, in terms of organization, that's what an A paper is going to read like. All right, so I have this rubric for you to give you a sense of my expectations. I use this for all of my classes, including research papers, which you are not writing. Yours is a class project where you're using class material for this. So not everything in this rubric perfectly fits. And so if it doesn't seem like what I'm asking you to do applies to this kind of project, you can slide over and not worry about that. For example, analysis for an A paper. Look what it says here. Demonstrates a sophisticated understanding and careful critical analysis of the topic and thesis. the argument. Compares and contrasts perspectives, considers counter-arguments or opposing positions, and draws original and thoughtful conclusions. That part about counter-argument or opposing positions, that doesn't really pertain to what we're doing for this essay. That would be more a research paper where you're taking outside material and creating an argument based on that. For a research paper, you always want to consider arguments that might challenge your thesis and be able to deal with those. That doesn't really apply. But almost everything else in here fits with your essay. So this gives you an idea of my expectations and what I am looking for. Okay, let's talk about style. I don't have any particular style manual I expect you to follow, MLA or anything else like that. Again, not a research paper, so I don't particularly care about that. If you cite something from the book, which I would expect if you're writing a paper, you're going to want to cite some things you learned in the book. The only thing you need to do is as I've done here, this is I guess I could use quotation marks just to highlight what I'm doing here. This is from page 1 of Franklin's autobiography. We talked about this in one of the lectures. And if you wanted to quote something like this in your essay, just use the author's name. It's either going to be Franklin or Lockridge for your class, and then what page number it came from. So Franklin 1. That's the only thing I'm worried about. I don't need a bibliography. I don't need a work cited. I don't care about any particular style manual. This is sort of not a research paper, but an important class assignment. So whatever, if you have a particular, like you like using MLA, go ahead, use MLA. If you learned how to use some other format style, you can use that. Okay. I'm not terribly picky for an assignment like this. This essay is worth 30% of your grade, so it's a big chunk of your grade. So please get started early on this. Unfortunately, I have about 250 students this semester in all my classes, and they're all going to be writing essays over the next 2 weeks. And so I just don't have the ability or time to read everybody's rough draft. I just can't do it. In a perfect world, if I was teaching 2 classes and they were seminars and they were small, I would be able to do that. But with the larger lecture style courses, I just can't read everybody's rough draft. However, I have office hours over the next 2 weeks. I have office hours over the entire semester, but during the period that you're going to be writing this essay, I'll have office hours. So if you have questions that you want me to help you deal with, by all means, come in. So far, like I've told you before, office hours have been very lightly attended. So the earlier you come in to see me, the better the chances are we'll be able to talk, and I'll be able to help you with whatever issues you have. You can also email me if you have issues or concerns with this. The sooner you do, the better. It gives me more time to respond to you. Okay? All right, everybody. That's it. If you have any questions, come visit me in office hours. Send me an email. Please start working early and try to do a good job on this, because it's a really big chunk of your grade in this class.